Hi, legends. This is the last What If video I'll be making about Season 13. Well, it's the last one that I have planned, so if you have any suggestions or ideas, drop them in the comments. But it would be much better if you DM me on Instagram or emailed me about it, because then it would be easier to communicate about the said ideas. As you know, I'm a firm believer in God, but also in the idea that the Makeover challenge is the worst judged recurring challenge on Drag Race. And Season 13 was plagued with the same nonsense. Today, we'll be going over the two possible outcomes if the Makeover challenge in Season 13 had been judged fairly. Now, before we do that, I want to present to you why I believe it was not judged fairly. And for that, I'm just going to show you a part of my The Favoritism of the Winner's Circle video that talks about the Makeover challenge, so that if there is anybody that has not seen that, we're all up to speed. If, of course, you have seen it, you can skip to the next chapter of the video. Let's hear what I had to say. So, what was the challenge this episode? You have your partner, put them in your signature drag, or at least put them in a drag style that will make us, the audience, and them, the judges, see clearly who their partner is. Now let's see what each of the pairs did. Denali in Olivia's drag is kind of a stretch, but I can see Olivia's thought process behind this. As Denali put Olivia in her entrance look-esque drag, Olivia did something similar, but this is not the most successful of transformations, as it's not really specific, and as Denali did not emulate Olivia well. Gottmik and Candy, absolutely. Yes, hi, hello. Gottmik, especially with her attitude on the runway, and Candy with the style, very successful makeover. Symone's look is okay, what the fuck, and also a little pretentious, so yep, Utica. And Utica is in a look that celebrates black excellence, which is a lot of what we've seen Symone do. Perfectly well executed on both ends. Tina put Rosé in this. Tina never once wore hair like this. This look is not aggressively red, orange, and yellow. Tina also never gave off the sort of housewife aesthetic. And also, do you really see this and think Rosé? Rosé, who thus far had worn almost exclusively things that hid her figure, mostly with ruffles, and also wore a pink wig like, twice, but neither one of those times was it like a hot pink. This hot pink wig being from her episode 1 appearance, of course. I genuinely do not see any valid counter arguments here. How Tina was not in the bottom 2 this episode is mind-boggling still. To be perfectly honest with you, Tina and Rosé being in the bottom 2 makes more sense than Olivia and Denali. If you have not gathered what I believe would be the fairest result of this episode from that, let me put it bluntly. Rosé and Tina should have been up for elimination. Obviously, we could do this video in a way that we don't judge the makeover challenge in pairs, but that I believe would be too complicated. Why? Well, let's see. We have 8 queens, 4 of them were tops, 4 of them were bottoms of the week. But if we judge them individually, we need a 3-2-3 distribution of 3 tops, 2 saves, and 3 bottoms. We know that Symone and Utica are definitely 2 of the high queens, but which one of them wins? I mean, the look on Utica is better, but that's Symone's look. But Utica presented it, so who wins? Out of Gottmik and Candy, who's high and who's safe? Based on the judges' critiques, Candy got a little more negatives than Gottmik, but Gottmik's positive critiques were mostly about her attitude, which was her emulating Candy. Do you see what I mean? Trying to judge this individually would be a bit of a logistical nightmare. So let's judge them in pairs. Thus, Symone and Utica win, Candy and Gottmik are high, Olivia and Denali are low, and Tina and Rosé are up for elimination in the bottom 2. I'll do 2 scenarios. The first one where Rosé wins, and the second one where Tina wins. Rosé did not win a single lip sync on Season 13, so we are to assume that she wouldn't win this one either. But she's going up against Tina, who really only won her first lip sync for storyline reasons. I know we don't like Elliot and all of that, but really? Am I supposed to believe that Tina Burner would beat Elliot in a lip sync? Sure, Jen. No, not you. Let's start with what I believe is the more plausible and the more fun outcome of Tina going home and Rosé staying. We start the 11th episode where the queens have to do the, commercials for the soda things. I don't fucking know. The only queens we have not seen out of these 7 do that challenge is Denali. However, we have seen Denali in similar challenges, those being the Bossy Rossi show and the Snatch Game. So we are to assume that she'd do great at best, fine at worst. Candy wins this episode's mini challenge, and let's get to the placements right away. Starting from the top, Rosé and Symone again share a win. I still don't know why. Rosé was better in both the challenge and on the runway, but hey ho, who cares? And sure, let's keep Candy as high with Denali being safe. If you're intuitive enough, I think you can tell what the outcome is going to be by now. Originally, the placements from the lowest to the safest were Tina, Utica, Gottmik, Olivia. Now that Tina is gone, the latter three are moved a spot down, which means that Utica and Gottmik are in the bottom two. Now I know, Gottmik would have probably been saved from that bottom two placement, because, well, we all know why, but hey, I'm basing this off the original placements, imagining that the judges and the producers never have any ideas behind their placements other than what actually happened in the episode. We're being ignorant to their using people as pawns, that's all I'm saying. Yes, this does mean that Gottmik would go home in this episode. I know, Gottmik already beat Utica in a lip sync once, and she could pull out a comedy lip sync to My Humps just like Tina did and beat Utica with her haha comedy. But please, just indulge me in this idea that she would go home. For the love of my hairy pecs, please do that. This means that for the roast, Denali is here. Again, how would she do? Probably really well. She did fine in the reading challenge, well, mini challenge. She wrote most of her jokes for Snatch Game with Auntie Chan, but you know, still, she had to come up with some of them at least, so I don't see her landing below safe. The mini challenge, let's say that it's won again by Candy and Rosé. Gottmik not being here means that we either bump Rosé up to the high placement or have Denali be high. Now, I would rather go with Denali being high because the whole story for Rosé for that episode was that she did all of her great jokes in the rehearsals, let's say that they were rehearsals, and that she was funnier there than she was on the stage, like during the actual challenge, when it mattered. Oh, also, by the way, I played a roast to some friends who are not very or at all familiar with Drag Race and drag queens and all of that, and they laughed the most at Rosé because her jokes were the least Drag Race related. See, that's why I think guest judges that don't have much knowledge on the show or on the queens are important, because they bring the neutral perspective. Like, was something funny because it was funny, or because, haha, Valentina sang badly at something only 1 million out of 7 billion people watched? Anyways, placements. Candy wins, Denali's high, why not? And Rosé is safe. Liv is low, and Symone beats Utica in the bottom two lip sync. Now I must say, for the past two What If videos, I completely forgot that Symone was in the bottom two this episode. Like, that's how many things happened in the episode, and I just somehow remembered Utica and Olivia being there. But thank you for reminding me. Moving on to the 13th episode and the acting challenge. Another slip-up of mine was saying that Denali was safe in the first acting challenge of the season when she was dead in the bottom two. Like, I could not have misremembered it more. Without trying to go all big brain on this fantasy season that does not matter, let's just go off what we know. So, Rosé wins 100%. Gottmik's not here, so somebody has to take her high placement. And I think it should be Symone. Originally, she was just safe, so she's the closest best thing. Candy, Liv, and Denali are in the bottom three, and if we assume that Denali took Gottmik's role of the dumb one, and what I'm about to say is no knock on Denali, but I think she would be able to play that sort of whiny valley girl-esque character, but definitely not as well as Gottmik. So I put Denali as low, and the bottom two and the eliminated queen are the same. As originally, of course. Now here's the thing, it really doesn't matter. One of the reasons I'm doing these what if videos is to show that in most scenarios, if not all of them, Symone ends up winning the season, which means that she's a good winner. There are certain winners that we can easily find a scenario where we can lower their track record or full on have them be eliminated from the season. But with Symone, there are really only like 2 times when that could happen, and both of those times she fought her way back in fair and square. No matter what your opinion is. What we were shown showed Symone winning. So with this top 4, I feel like we're looking at Denali, Candy, and Symone in the top 3. I don't know who would be in the top 2. If Symone reaches the top 2, like, she wins, given her best track record. But I do believe that to a Britney Spears song, Denali could beat Symone, and I'm not saying that Ru would ever eliminate Symone, nor that Ru would ever want a Hispanic queen that's made her ethnicity known or even remotely important to her drag to prosper on the show, but I think that in a world where everything is fair, we could see Denali reaching that top 2 against Candy, and thus possibly winning, given Candy's 3 bottom 2 placements and the fact that one time in the season she was fully saved. But that's a 1 in a I don't know how many possibility. The second scenario starts with Rosé being eliminated and episode 11 having Tina now instead of, well, Rosé. Given everything I've already said about how I believe Denali would do based on how she did in similar challenges, these are the results. So, of course, Candy wins the mini challenge, but we run into a wall immediately. Do we have 2 winners? And if so, which 2? Symone wins 100%, but do we give Denali or Candy the win? Honestly, I wouldn't give it to either. Candy's runway look is too bad to be considered a look someone should win in, and Denali is too much of a hypothetical to give her a win on a whim, so if you agree, Symone is the sole winner this episode. And if you disagree, go back in time and tell me to change this. Nothing? Nobody? Okay, good. The rest of the placements are the same. The 12th episode, the roast, I believe is going to be much easier to figure out. Firstly, with the mini challenge, let's assume that Gottmik and Candy would be doing it together and the 2 of them would win it. Why would they be doing it together? Because they were the closest on the set based on what we saw, but also because it's a mini challenge and it doesn't matter. Candy wins the maxi challenge, Gottmik is high, Denali safe, why not? Liv is low, and Utica loses the lip sync to Symone. The 13th episode won't have the same result as in the previous scenario, simply because the role of the dumb valley girl is now filled. Gottmik's here to play it. So Denali's left with the serious, whatever, role that Rosé played, and I do not think that she would excel at it. Here are the results. Gottmik wins this time, as Rosé is not here, and I guess we have to give Symone the high placement. Again, I'm not the craziest about it either, but like, we can understand it as compared to Olivia, Candy, and probably Denali. Symone would look like, I don't know, Glenn Close or something. I don't know who's a good actress. I'm giving Candy the low placement now so that we can have that bottom 2 lip sync between Olivia and Denali in which Denali goes home. Listen guys, Olivia beat her once already. And like, she actually beat her. But again, if you disagree, go back in time and stop me. Now, what happens in the finale? I mean, Symone probably wins this season yet again. And that's it. That's the video. Now what have we gathered from this video other than the fact that Symone would win pretty much always? No, I'm like genuinely asking, like what's the deal? What are we doing today? Sound off in the comments, and thank you for watching.